Hello, everybody. This is the CT Sports Talent Show. My name is Christopher Saunders, and I'm pleased to have on two players from the Plainville football program, both of them seniors, both play both on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. First, I'd like to introduce Bobby Wright with me. Bobby, say hello.
Hey, what's up?
And I'd also like to introduce Shane McCormick as well. Shane, say hello.
What's doing?
It's awesome to be able to interview two players from a program that I have a lot of respect for. Even though I have not seen the program in person, I know Coach Shea, who I've known basically since the COVID year, what he's meant both to when he was in the NVL, he played at Naugatuck, coached at Woodland for a number of years, and now is doing great things with Plainville. And I think it's awesome to see a guy like that kind of extend and go outside the NVL and have success both on and off the field. Guys, before we get into yourselves really quick, I kind of want to reflect on last year. I know last year was tough. I know
Yes.
it was one of those things that I'm sure you guys have really beat into everybody's minds like, hey, this is not happening again. But I just want to go back to it quick. I'll start with Bobby first. For you and looking at the record, right? 0-10, you just think everything was terrible. But I feel like there had to be some positives to take away from that season. Do you have any?
Yeah, there was a couple. I think a good positive is when stuff like that happens, you get chances to experiment with more things that you may have not done before and put some people in that you may have not put in if the opposite thing had happened. So now those guys are more experienced going into the season. And now looking at it, I feel like it's made us more hungry for what's good to come, and we're not as complacent as we were going into last year.
I'll go to Shane with this question next. Looking at some of the scores, very lopsided, but I did notice it wasn't all complete blowouts. I mean, there were some games that you guys were in. I think Ram, who finished 7-3, that was a back and forth game. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. There was another game too, Foreign, who, if I recall, was 9-1. I mean, again, the score looked like it 42-20 was a blowout, but you could kind of fill me in on that game. But again, 9-1, and you guys kind of kept up with them a little bit. So when you see stuff like that, or you did at the time, what were your thoughts?
I mean, it's obviously sad that we lost the games, but like it made me confident knowing that we could keep up with like better teams than we were last year.
Mhm. Shane, as you know, I'll stick with Shane really quick here. Are there any positives that you can take from the season?
Last year, we got experience going into this year. We had a lot of sophomores starting last year. We rotate a lot of people in because like some people would lack in certain spots.
Mhm.
Obviously, they were inexperienced then, but like now they understand what a varsity football game is like, and they'll have more experience coming into this year.
I'll go to Bobby next. Now, how many years for yourself, Bobby? And then I'll ask Shane as well once we're done with the question here. How many years have you been at the varsity level?
3 years.
3 years. So the game pretty much has been around as far as the expectations, other than the players being interchangeable for the opponent side for the most part. You know kind of what it takes at the varsity level. So with last year kind of being that second year, right? Because this is your third year, correct?
Yes.
So your second year at the varsity level, what did you learn from your second year that you felt like you improved on from your first year, if that makes sense?
Well, my first year, since as you know, class of 24, we didn't get our freshman season. So our sophomore year, we kind of went into it blind, and I didn't play football before that. So I learned a lot going into it. I want to say I appreciate Coach Shea for kind of believing me in that situation.
Mhm.
So going into so after that second year, I learned a lot more.
Mhm.
Then I learned how to use my hands. I learned how to actually like I knew what like an A gap and a B gap was. Like going into training camp, going into the first week of sophomore year, I didn't know what an A gap or a B gap was, and coach would scream my head off because I'm looking at him with a blank stare. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Right? So like small stuff like that, I learned. It's been very helpful.
I want to stay with Bobby really quick. So Shea convinced you to play. So I've watched the tape. You're not a small guy. Like you're a big guy. Obviously, you can get through the trenches. Reason why you play on the line, both sides. So that conversation of Shea getting you to play, did he just mind you? We were just talking before. He's a big guy. You don't want to tell him no. You just want to say, yes, sir, I'll do that, whatever, fine, deal. So how did he convince you to play the game?
So funny story. We had an open house from my eighth grade year.
Okay.
And I remember walking in, our principal, Mr. Johnson, at the time, is like 6'6", 300-pound former left tackle. And the first thing he says to me is, "You're going to play football, right?" And this big imposing guy is asking you, what are you going to do? You're obviously going to tell him yes. And then it's always something I wanted to do. It's something I grew up around. I'm from Hartford. All my cousins did it. I grew up hearing about the 90s to 2000s Weaver teams and all that. So that's something that I've always really wanted to do. So when Coach Shea asked me, and I was all hands on deck, I was down.
That's awesome to hear that. Now, Shane, same question for you. Has kind of football been around for a long time? Did you just pick it up? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it has been. This is probably my, I think, 9th or 10th year playing. I started around 3rd grade, I think, because like before that I was into soccer a little bit. It was weird. But like my parents would say that I would like sit on the soccer field and just like stare at the football players practice. And I was like, oh, that's a cool sport. So I like started it around 3rd grade. Then I was like back and forth between that and baseball, what my favorite sport is. I was like, all right, when I got to like the high school level, I realized I'm more built for football. And football's like more my type of sport because I'm more of an like aggressive, bigger guy. And it's just like I just fell in love with it from there on out.
So how many years have you been at the varsity level? Same thing, 3 years or no?
Sophomore year I was a bit smaller, but I like worked my ass off and I like did special teams that year. I was like all around special teams. I wasn't offense or defense. Last year I was like all offense and defense. I only started half the games on defense. I like learned a lot from it, honestly. I led the team in tackles last year. I don't know. That's just about it.
I'll stay with Shane here. So again, kind of when I asked Bobby as far as kind of what did he learn from his first year, for you, it's a little bit different because you were on special teams, but I feel like that can kind of be equated to, getting a little bit more responsibility that second year, which was last year, and then going from special teams. So you have that kind of appreciation for, not to say the Drake line, you started from the bottom, now you're there, but you started from doing something that a lot of people, let's be honest, you want to be on offense and defense. Special teams is one of those positions where, and I love special teams as someone who watches and broadcasts, because that's the biggest part of the game. Because if you control the line of scrimmage, if you, I mean, you guys know this, if you put a team on their 5-yard line every single drive, unless they're one of those fantastic teams that has amazing plays or awesome talent, they're not going to be able to consistently drive down the field. So for Shane, coming from special teams, that had to be something of an adjustment for you, but an appreciation as well.
Yes, it absolutely was. I mean, like I wasn't used to it then. I was small, like 5'8", maybe like 160. I was getting pushed around because I wasn't like a big guy. I wasn't used to the varsity level experience. Then I like got to this year and realized, there's the same players, like mainly playing offense and defense because Connecticut football teams aren't huge. It's like had me get used to it a little more than like just coming into this past year with like absolutely no experience.
I'll go to Bobby here. And I did not realize as far as your family history with the Weaver teams and all that. And it's kind of funny that you say that because the Wright name is very, and I know a bunch of Wrights. I doubt you're related to all of them, but again, it's pretty cool to hear that. So by you saying that, right? And I'm sure after games, you're able to, get a lot of the Monday morning quarterback, but more so for you on offense and defense with how you played and such. How much of it is that your family is so involved and can help you as far as with you growing as a football player?
So my father didn't play and my grandfather didn't play. So on that line, I'm kind of the first. But my first cousins, I idolize them. I will never tell them that because I'm never going to stroke their ego, but I idolize them, right? So I remember watching them get sacks and they would do their little celebrations and their friends would run up and down the field. And I would watch on my grandfather's truck tailgating with, potato chips in my hand. Like, that's my cousin, that's his name. So that is a lot of motivation. My cousin, JJ, he's a guy, anytime he gets a chance, he's going to run lanes with me till this day, So that's kind of what helped me and influenced me to get to the sport now, along with my mother. My mom she'll support anything I do. I could tell her I'm going to go try to become the biggest hot dog stand in the world, and she'll tell me, yeah. So, yeah.
So, and you mentioned the sack part, because I have to ask, when you got your first varsity sack, what was your first thought? Who was it against, first off? And second, what was the first thing that came to your mind after the play?
So there's a lot to unravel there because it was a weird play. It was my sophomore year against Northwest Catholic. It was our homecoming game. And they had this speedy running back, and we had talked about containing him. Well, he had got loose, and so I see him and I cut, and I basically like, okay, do you see that play of Jordan Davis where he chased down that guy and made the tackle? I kind of did one of those, right? So I was able to do that, and that was cool. And the first thing that came to my mind was, did I just do that? And then I heard my name, and I was like, oh my God, that was me. And they helped me up. And I was like, that's so cool. And then I realized that I blew through my cleat while I was cut. It was horrible. It was crazy.
What was Shea? I'm sure Shea was screaming. What was he saying?
You know, Coach Shea is one of those guys where if he expects something from you, he won't make it a big deal if you did it. You know, so we had other coaches who were screaming, and then Coach Shea kind of gave like a nod, you know, like a, you know, Coach Shea will give like a subtle good job, you know.
That sounds
They maybe give a smirk, but he was all locked in on the game.
that sounds like Shea. But I can almost guarantee you, knowing him from his time with Woodland, especially because obviously I don't know about the CCC, but the NVL is strictly kind of like an old style run based offenses. Some teams will throw it, but a lot of times it's a lot of running. And I know the biggest thing because of Ansonia, contain. Don't let them get outside the numbers. So I'm sure Shea was screaming. Maybe he wasn't, and I'm sure he'll tell me if I'm wrong. But contain, squeeze, don't expand and let them get outside the numbers, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'll go to
all coaches.
I apologize. What were you saying? I cut you off.
They were all preaching that to contain the squeeze. It's like three voices saying it.
You have to 100% on that one. I'll go to Shane here. So have you been able to record this? I know playing linebacker, obviously there's a little bit more required and such, but have you been able to record a sack at all during your career?
Yes, I was. Last year, actually, during Berlin, which was like one of our toughest opponents, we got blown out by a lot. It was like my standout game. I was able to like run out on the field with the flag. I was like, okay, this is a pretty cool moment. Mm-hmm. I got to the game. What is it? I think second drive. Mm-hmm. First or second play of the second drive. I got through the line on like a blitz. I like stumbled a little bit. It's a funny clip. I like rewatching it. I stumbled. I get back up. Like I recover from it. I like just like grab him by his legs and sack him. It was like such a cool moment because I never had a sack before that. Mm-hmm. It was just a great moment for me. I was excited. I was like, okay, I'm getting used to it now.
So when you watched the game over, I'm sure the play of you making the sack, right, was watched in the film room. I know the score was lopsided, but was there a little bit of laughter because of how that happened? Because that is a funny moment to get your first sack.
I don't think I remember it in the film room, but like Bobby was laughing at what I did. Like he was like honestly surprised how I even got a sack off that because like I almost fell down.
But you didn't. And you whiffed? You missed?
I thought he
whiffed,
missed.
I like whiffed at first, and I got back up. Like I was able to regain my balance and somehow still get after him.
You know, Shane, you could have just said that's how the play was drawn. That's how it was supposed to be, like a fake, right? But anywho, I'll stick with Shane here. Just kind of looking at it from a position of which you play, out of, you know, playing linebacker and being on the line, which one do you like playing more?
Linebacker, absolutely.
Okay, so
I'm undersized at line because I'm like, he's more built for line than I am. I'm like low 200s. I'm not horribly tall. I'm like 5'10" on a good day. Mm-hmm. The linebacker, I just feel like I'm built for it. I'm like fast enough where I could like chase down some people. I'm very strong in the weight room. I'm able to like hit hard. It's just something I like doing. I love tackling people.
To be fair, though, because you guys played against New Fairfield, and I saw them against Holy Cross in the playoff game last year at Municipal, their offensive linemen were not very big, but they were very technically sound. So, you know, you can be small, but if you've got a little bit of weight or your technique is good, I've seen it, you can have success. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just pointing out a fact there, but I digress. The linebacker position, you know, we were just talking about, because I'm a Cowboys fan, so obviously, like, I think of, you know, Van Der Esch, you know, I think of Sean Lee, who, if he ever was healthy, could have been one of the best coming out of Penn State, but had concussions and the neck and the shoulder and all that. We talked about Smith, too. I know you're a Giants fan and some of those linebackers who played back in the day. Do you watch guys either at the college level or the pro level and try to take some of their game and add that to your toolbox?
Yes, I do. I like, what is that? When I was younger, I used to like just watch like the score and get happy when they would score. But like now as I've gotten older and getting used to actually playing football, I watch what they're doing. I like sometimes will like stare at the TV and like analyze how they're playing or like how they're attacking something. Something that I've like started to implement in how I actually play it.
Bobby, same question for you. You asking, are you watching film on Bosa with the Niners?
Yes. Yeah, I watch a lot of Bosa film, especially but see, I'm an interior lineman, so a lot of stuff that Bosa does is kind of iffy for me. Plus, he has a long arm span, so a lot of the moves he can do, I really can't do. So I like to watch a lot of other teams that I know have standout interior linemen. I'll watch Green Bay and I'll watch Kenny Clark, or I'll watch the Jets and watch Quinnen Williams. Guys like those people, they're like some of the people I like to look at. Aaron Donald, of course.
I was about to say Donald's an interior lineman. Because I'm just thinking off the bat, because again, I've watched your film and I kind of think about I don't think he's on Dallas anymore, but Haskins, he played for the Raiders, interior lineman. He because Dallas needed a run stuffer. I'm not saying you're a run stuffer. I think you're more than that. But I'm just saying an interior lineman who can be able to, I mean, his arms were not very long, but because of his size and his weight, it was almost like he was playing like he was pushing the weighted bar, whatever it is, in practice. It was so easy for him. Does that kind of ring a bell to you or not?
Yes. See, okay, I'm not gonna lie. I love the weight room, right? I live in there, right? And it's definitely a Coach Shea. I like to think like I like to kind of blame Coach Shea all the time. Like, Coach Shea, man, you stuck me in a squat rack and I've never been able to leave since, So a lot of times I like to look at it as, okay, like you squat this, you bench this, put some of those tools in there, and nobody's going to weigh as much as you do that. So you'll be fine. So I like to put a lot of those tools in there.
I'll go to Shane next. And I know Bobby just mentioned the weight room. Has there been a difference in terms of, and I don't know what it was last year, so you can kind of help me with this, but the focus, the mentality, the work, is there a difference from last year to this year thus far? I know OTA start in a couple days, so I'm just talking off-season weight room. Is there been a difference?
I believe so. There's more people showing up. Like summer, the freshmen started showing up more and more. Last year, I distinctly remember them being like not as committed. This year's freshmen, like most of them consistently show up, which I'm glad to see. The seniors, now we realize what happened last year on the field and off the field stuff, and we do not want it to happen again. So we were all like very, very committed to the weight room and making strong gains.
I'll go to Bobby next, and I have to ask because I've never asked, Coach Shea this. Fear the fork. What does that mean exactly?
Man, that's a funny question because I don't know. I'd like to imagine it's not even just a football thing. It's become more of a Plainville thing. Like, even if you look on Twitter, if you see Plainville Athletics, it'll say hashtag for the fork no matter what team is playing. So I don't know if that's Coach Shea who coined that or an athletic director. I don't know.
May have to find that out now.
I'm gonna have to ask him. I'll have to text him after.
Yeah.
What's the fork for me?
Yeah, do that and then let me know, because I'm just curious, because I see that. I've seen Coach Shea, and you're right. I've seen Plainville on their athletic Twitter post that as well, but I've never actually sat down and thought, fear the fork. What does that mean? I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's just something I saw, something we say, and I just roll with it.
Something we just stick to, yeah.
Something we just stuck to. I was like, you know what? It's something that has to do with, fearing us. I like that. I'm gonna say it,
I'll go to Shane next. Has there been a motto? Has there been something? I know Shay was talking with me earlier about, doing things quietly, right? Maybe, again, obviously the record aside, let's be honest, 0-10, you don't really want to be sitting there saying you can beat everybody. You just want to be able to go quietly, do your stuff, let your play do the talking. So has that been kind of like the mentality of this team as we head into the season?
Yes, it has been. We've stayed mostly quiet about how we're doing things. I don't usually talk to outside people about how we're like running things now. We like to stay humble with what we do. We just like work towards our goal. We're all hard workers now, and we just like work towards it. And like you said, silence. We keep quiet about it, and we just like keep improving in like the dark.
Well, I appreciate you guys being able to talk with me, because I think this has been awesome. And speaking of the dark, just don't do an Aaron Rodgers and go in the dark for 2 weeks. Don't want to do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, multitude of reasons. Don't want to get into it. It'd be a little weird. I'll go to Bobby next. As we head into this season, I don't have the schedule in front of me just yet, but as far as the CCC and the teams that you guys play, it really does prepare you as far as kind of what's in front, especially for aspirations of being able to make the playoffs. For you specifically, Bobby, are you thinking playoffs, or are you thinking one day at a time, first team that we're playing, that's all you care about right now?
Of course, I keep playoffs in my mind. That's just the overall goal. But I like to take 1 week at a time, because I don't want to lose focus of the task at hand that week. And I think everything will fall in line with that as we go. But I mean, I'll never not think about what the goal is ahead. Of course we want the cut back in Farmington. Of course we want to go to the playoffs. and stuff. But 1 week at a time now, and we'll get there when we get there.
Shane, same question.
Like he said, I like keep the playoffs in mind. I understand that's what our like main goal is for the season. That's what Shay like wants us to know for the season. Like that's our like number one like priority. But like he said, it's like 1 week at a time. I work towards whatever game we have that week. I work towards like understanding what we're doing in practice and why that's gonna matter for that game. Then once that game gets over with, I'm just gonna like focus on the next week.
I'll go to Bobby next. What has Coach Shay meant to you as a football player and a soon-to-be going into now your senior year, a young man who's graduating?
That's a loaded question, man.
I'm usually good for those. I'm usually good for one or two.
Yeah, I try not to get too emotional about him, because I mean, of course, he's not a guy who shows too much emotion, but he took me, he put me in the weight room. He knew he has no weight room experience. He has no on-field experience. And for him to see me, believe in me, and then like we'll have these weird moments. He'll be like, man, you do this, and in no time, you'll do this. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And then I'll go and do it. And I'm like, oh my God, he was right. So like, I mean, he's somebody that I truly love. And I hope the feeling is vice versa. And he's somebody that I would, if most things, if he said, hey, go do that, I'll probably do it. Not gonna lie. He means a whole lot to me. He really does. And I'm super lucky to be able to have him as a football coach.
I'll tell you this much and I've learned this from my journeys as far as through, broadcasting all around the state, right? When a lot of times I've noticed when coaches say something, they mean it, right? And especially somebody like Shay, who's been around the block. He's seen more football than I probably will ever watch or ever even be able to broadcast. So when he sees something, especially potential, you listen, which you have, and now you're benefiting from that, both in the weight room, on the field, and off the field. So it's great to be able to hear that from you, Bobby. I'll go to Shane with you now. What has Coach Shane meant to you?
It's hard to say. I feel like almost his son at times. I don't know. It's a weird way to put it. He feels like a father figure to me. He's a very, very important person in my life right now. Yes, forever. He drives me towards my goals. He ensures that I keep working. He recognizes my hard work on the field, and I just really appreciate it. He's a fantastic head coach. He knows exactly what he's doing, and I don't know, he just has a great effect on me, and I'm going to always remember him for that.
That's awesome to hear. Guys, I really appreciate you coming on. Before I let you go really quick, got to get one lighthearted question in. I'll go to Bobby first. So what's the pregame meal? I know, isn't there a J. Timmy's in Plainville? Are you eating that before a game?
Oh, man, pregame meal. You see, I'm a breakfast kind of guy. You know what I mean? Really? You ask Shane, man, I talk to Shane every day. Shane's like a brother to me. I'll share my meals with him all the time. You know what I mean? It could flip flop. I do eat a lot. I'll probably go for a bacon, egg, and cheese sometimes, Or there's Jim's Deli. What's that sandwich with the barbecue sauce on it? God. The Hammer?
Dude, I don't remember.
It's called the Hammer. It's beautiful. It's so good. One time I ate it before a wrestling match. I pinned the dude in a minute 30. I was like, this is the one. This is the one. It's beautiful.
Shane, I hope that's not the same one, because if it is, then hey, so be it. Do you have a different place, or is that the same one for you?
Honestly, Subway. It's expensive, but
Subway.
Yes.
Oh.
What? What's wrong with
Subway? Why Subway?
I've had the same sandwich I've had since I was younger. I just like it. It's expensive, but it's something I always go to whenever I get sometimes I'll just go to when I get hungry. Okay. I don't know. It feels good.
So J. Tim's is nobody's favorite? Nobody likes J. Tim's here?
Here's my thing.
Tim's is really good.
I gotta be disciplined. You can ask him. We went to Sliders the other day, right? And I had 22 garlic parmesan chicken wings, and I felt good afterwards. So if I go to J. Tim's before a game, don't be surprised if like you're watching it and I'm just like in the corner doing like wings. It'll be bad. It'll be really bad.
So real quick, if there was a food eating contest, right? Obviously Bobby's going to be there. Let's say you could send 3 people from each team to the CIAC and they're having a food eating contest and their wings. Who are the 3 people from Plainville that are going from the football team? Bobby's one. Who are the other 2?
Marcus for sure.
Marcus, absolutely.
Marcus can eat.
Only Nick was still here.
Oh my God, if Nick was still here, Nick ate I kid you not, 3 family-sized pizzas. But Marcus can put food down for he's a running back, but he eats like a lineman. And I'm not going to lie, Joe
Joe?
Yo, Vasquez can eat.
I did not know that.
He's like 150 pounds, but he eats like me. It's bad. It's really bad.
Where does it go?
Him, the Jake Bush.
It just slides off him, basically.
We make the joke all the time that if he had a slow metabolism, he'd be a D1 left tackle.
Well, the metabolism will slow down at some point, but it may not be in time for him to be a Division I tackle.
No.
That's awesome to hear, guys. Hey, I appreciate you both coming on. This was a lot of fun. Best of luck as far with the season coming up. Bobby, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shane, I appreciate you coming on as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Also,
this thing's up here in the CT Sports Talent Show. So next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm your journey, find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.